Hey there guys, my name's Danny Till. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we will be painting a chameleon. Now the aim here is, obviously they are very colourful, but today I really want to keep it nice and basic and use some greens. So I've got some Micador Brilliant watercolour discs here. They are an ink-like based watercolor paint. The colors are very vibrant. I have some cold press paper here. I also have some browns within that same range, and I've also got some Payne's Grey here, which is Art Spectrum, and one of these little guys, which is a Micador Aqua Painter, which I may use within the painting. And I've just got a silver black velvet size 6 brush and just a really cheap Reno Art fine liner slash script brush that I'll be using today. Paper towel, some water, and my cup of coffee, which is a given, so that'll be popped to the side that I'll use. Now, paper size is quite small. I'm assuming it's an 8 by 10, so rather small, and just using up my scrap paper. Now this, ultimately, I'm looking at painting loose. So in order for it to become loose, I want to start with some splatters first. So what I'll do is I'll grab some paper towel. You can use newspaper or a scrap piece of paper that you've got, anything like that. I'll just pop that down because when I make a mess, I really don't want it to stain my area. So I'll just move that around. All I want to do really is cover the area that I'm working in, especially when I'm splattering and making a mess. Obviously you can clean it up afterwards, but it's kind of nice to also have the option to have it cleaner straight away. Okay, so I'm going to start with the greens, and I'm going to pop in some water and wet the paper quite considerably. And what I want to do is, the drawing is really simple too, so I really want to enhance some areas and others not so much. So around the tail area, I really want to concentrate some water in there. Just pop in some water around the tail, so I'm not really even painting within the painting yet. And just under his chin and just up above his back. So a nice balance of 3. And then I'll just dip into this green and just let it flow whatever direction it really wants to go as a starting point for this painting. So what we want to do is we want to create some texture and movement within the painting straight away without actually getting into any details. This painting will be very loose, so all I'm doing is letting that water run. The tail's hanging, so I'm wanting that water to sort of drip and drizzle. Just go the other way. I'm using my brush and the water to guide the colour down now. So you're sort of just moving it around and letting it drip. And that's the starting point for the painting. Then with some paper towel, I'm just going to pick up some of the water. It won't pick up all the colour, but just enough so that I've got these hints of green coming through. And that's basically all I'm going to do there. Now, underneath his chin area, I'm going to start in and bring my palette in for mixing. And take in a little bit of that green that we've used. It's a really nice green. I'm going to take in also a little bit of blue and mix that through. I'm getting an aqua an aqua colour as such. A little bit more of the blue. So it's a lighter blue that I'm mixing through. And I'm going to use that under his chin. In a moment, I'm just organising myself a little bit. All right, so under his chin is a little bit dark, so I'm going straight in and popping in that dark value straight away. Now a little bit more of the blue that we've used. It's mixing in with that green. And I'm just putting in all the dark values in first. So up here, around this bit here, and I'm going to take a yellow also, so just bear with me in my mix of colours. Just going through my, so the yellow from the Micador, really vibrant, and I'll just pop that there so it's on screen. Just a bit of warm yellow, and start mixing that through up the top. I want the colours to move and bleed. So again, yellow up the top and let that bleed into the current green. And I want to do the same down here, down in his chin. These are the spiky areas. So I want that yellow to just bleed out. And I want to do the same up the top here and just draw a yellow line around the ridge and down. Like so. And back to my greens now. I'll take a little bit of orange and just pop it up into here, and then back to my greens. Now there's the yellow through my brush there that I'm just washing out. And then I'm placing some more green in with that yellow. So I'm after a lighter green here. I'll take a little bit more of that yellow and mix it through. And then I'll bring that yellow through. Now it's a darker greeny yellow than the yellow that we put down first. And just bring that down and around. I'm just working around his tail. Super loose, so I'm letting all the colours bleed one into another. Taking the green, placing it underneath his leg area here. And letting it merge and mingle. Now some yellow directly into this area here, and a few spots under his belly in here, and then bringing in another green value through there. Because this is just a little bit darker, this area. So really lightly just coming in and layering and letting those colours bleed one into another. Use the water now to guide the colour through and mix it in with the yellow. And then his underbelly will be a bit darker, so in with a darker green and let it mix and merge into that top half, like so. Under his chin I'm going in with that lighter green now, and above his lip, and then work my way around with that lighter colour let it bleed and merge. Like so. So all we're doing here is looking at the values. Lighter on top, underneath his belly is going to be a bit darker. So I'm going to come in with that darker colour now. And just the tips of his feet are yellow, so I'm just going to introduce just a little bit of yellow down here. And then I'm going to use the water to disperse that yellow down a bit. Like so. In with the lighter green. Down for his feet. So I'm going to use it on the bottom half first and bring it down like so. And I'll do the same on the other side. Just follow his leg. And then I'm going to bring in a clean brush and just use the water to guide up and around the top half of his leg. Bits that you want to keep lighter. Like so. Now around his eyes a little bit darker, so I'm coming in with that darker green and just around the eye with the tip of the brush. You're just moving the paint around. Now the other bit of the tail that we haven't done, so just a little bit of the green again. The darker area is around the base of the ring, so I'm going to follow that through. And then I'm going to use my water and guide that colour around to make it a little bit lighter and around into his tail area. So all I've done here is added colour and let it disperse around. Now, straight in with the yellow, it's a warm yellow, and I'm just going to now turn the painting around and flick up the spikes. And they get a little bit smaller as it comes down. Like so. And then introduce more of that yellow up into his head and spike it out just a little bit. Excuse me. I'll introduce a little bit more of that yellow through here. And just down where his foot is. Intensifying that. And then just as his leg comes down, it arches in here. So we'll just bring that and arch it in. I want the feet to sort of get lost. I don't want too much detail in those. Now, I'm going to dry this really quickly. Just excuse the noise. Just on a low heat. And move the colour and the water around a little bit. A little bit drier. Still the paper is moist, and this is where I'm just going to bring in a little bit of shadow. So I'm going to pop in a little bit of Payne's Grey. This moves really beautifully with the wet paper. Just a tiny bit, you don't need much. And just come in with this liner brush. And what I want to do is I want to bring in the panes down the bottom. So just activate that. Just down the bottom. Line it through. and then use your water to disperse the colour into the green underneath. So now we're just adding the values, but we still want it to move around and create really nice texture. It's just adding a little bit more paints now because the paper's a little bit wetter in that area, and we should see that travel really nicely. And just underneath his chin area, a little bit of pains in there. And I'm just going to revert back to a little bit more pains in the eye area. So the bit that we've left, pop a nice big black blob in there. And then back into the yellow to draw in the spikes underneath the chin. I'm just painting over the paint that's dried a little bit. Now I want to bring in the colour and let it bleed through, and what I'll do now is I'll just bring in a little bit of these greens, mix them through, and start increasing the values around the eye, but still keeping it loose. So again, just any of your greens, you don't have to be specific, just around his eye now, a little bit of the detail. So I'm coming in with a straight line, but then I'm going to use the water to disperse that out and flick it upwards and soften those edges. And again, straight in, just move my paper around. And I'm just drawing lines, zoom in a little bit, just lines around his eyes and creating some darker values. And I'll bring those darker values up here too. So the whole idea of this guy is loose, although we're going to add some detail. So above here, I'm going to add in a little bit of this yellow. Just move that up. So this is a warm yellow. This is his bottom lip and this is his top. So I'm starting to define where everything is and just using the greens that have already been mixed, bringing those in. Again, just using some of the darker values. I'll bring in some blue now and just start working around the eye and bringing in some of these shadow marks in his skin. Now I said I was going to use some browns, and this is what I'm going to do here. So just in with the brown. This is the darker brown, and I'm just jiggling that in the palette. Move that to the side. And what I want to do is I just want to bring in the dark value here with the brown. Like so. And bring that in under the belly as well. So some of the strokes are a little bit more controlled, others aren't so much. So what I want to do is now, the brown that I've placed up, I want to soften it. So just with the side of my brush, and then a little bit of green into that for a point of interest. bringing that up and around his leg. And I want to bring that brown in again. So I'll take a little bit more, excuse my hand over the screen, and I'm going up in the head region now. Just bringing some definition in, but again letting it mingle and merge into the water. I'll do the same around the eye again. So I want to bring in some green now, this brighter green, and just drop that into his face. Only in certain bits, so around here, because the shapes that I'm popping in are actually allowing the lighter green to still stay underneath. So just adding some more greens. We wanted that area to stay dark, so we'll bring in a little bit more of that aqua colour and disperse it down around his face. Now a little bit of the more olivey green up through the tips, and I'm going to just dot it in, which is going to give a nice little textured area and a point of interest rather than colouring it in fully. I'm just letting that area dry a little bit more, and we'll work on the tail a little bit now as that dries. So this region through here, a little bit of panes. So my panes is diluted on my palette. There's some greens in that panes, and that's fine. That's what I want to do. So I'm just bringing it forward. So here's the greens with some yellow added, some green with blue added, and this is the green with some panes added. So I'm dipping into that, and that should give me my darker values just under his leg. So his leg is sort of bending in here, and we want to visually be able to see that. So going in with the panes and green is going to help us achieve that. So there's still detail being placed in a loose painting, but only visually where your eye is leading you. So just basically the green and the panes now, and just bringing it around and just popping in the crevices in his tail. So just little lines. I'm getting stronger with my panes down here. Just popping them through the yellow. And I want to get a little bit darker down here. So just advancing on the panes there. And this is darker around the edge where we've squirted out. So I'm not painting this within the painting, I'm creating almost like a shadow up and around. And that way his tail will pop out. Just straight panes, and that should just disperse out and around. Like so. And then we just want to bring that panes out a little bit and let it disperse. Don't go too big, because then you'll just have a big blob. I'm going to do the same under the belly now. My apologies, under the leg area. So I'm bringing in some water, clean water, underneath his leg. And I want this to be quite intense, so straight in with the paints and let that paints flow into the water that you've just placed in there. Like so. And that should just meet up with the lines that we've done. And then again, a little bit of brown in with the paints now. Just pop it in. And then we're going to disperse that out. Like so. And that edge is a little bit tight for me, so I'm just going to get some paper towel and pick up the edge there with my finger and just soften it a little bit. But I still got that darker region in there. Excuse me. So a little bit of blue. This is the darkest blue within the palette of the Micador set. And now I'm going to start enhancing the leg with that blue. So the leg will bleed into that brown, and that's fine. And I just want to increase the values of this leg here. This is the top half of the leg with some really nice dark blue. And I really want to let that bleed in. And he'll have some folds in there too, so I'll just let them come out a little bit. And then with our brush, we'll let that merge and mingle and create some point of interest. And bring that blue in there. So ideally what I'm trying to do, just a little bit of paper towel to pick up some colour. Ideally what I'm trying to do is let that top bit of the leg, this bit here, pop out. And in order for it to pop out, I'm using some darker colours around it. So just back in with the paints and green and building up that colour in through here. Again, we're aiming for loose. So just around the ridge, I'm going to add in a little bit more point of interest, and this is going to be the blue from the Micador set. So it's just a nice vibrant blue. I want to just bring it around using my rigger on its side to give me more line, like a thicker controlled line. And I'll bring that right down, like so. Now I feel under his belly needs a little bit more love. So again, with that blue, first I'm going to almost draw a triangle in here and bring in some dark, and then use my brush and clean water to spread that colour through. If it starts getting too dark, use your paper towel to pick up the colour, but I want that blue to now start bleeding through and down from his belly. And then I want to use that same blue value to increase the darker areas in here, like so. I'll just take a little bit of yellow and mix that through the blue just on the edge, and then I'll draw that colour out with water. It's mixing in with the blue on the paper, like so. And then again, paper towel's your friend. Pick up any of that pigment that's just a little bit too strong for you, as I'm doing now. Okay, now because we've increased the value up there, I'm just going to go back down to the tail and bring in some more paints and just really let that disperse down there because the paper's still wet, and add that point of interest by just outlining it but letting the panes move by itself. Add some water in there if you have to. And then just up and around. Again, I don't like the way that's sort of doing its own thing there and making a shape, so I just want to soften that out like so. Alrighty, so just bringing the last of the body in. So just a nice squirt of green. This is more of an olive green, just above the top of that blue. So we're still layering, but we have a loose background. And then that apple green, that really nice pop of apple green, I'm just really going to come in nice and strong and use the rigger on its side. And coming in nice and strong for his body, but I'm also going to leave these little yellow circles that we originally plonked in. Which will give us a really nice focal point of interest. I'm just going nice and strong with this apple green and let it bleed. And again, your rigger on the side. And then to get his belly a little bit, again, point of interest, I'm just dotting in some colour. And then I'm going to use the water to disperse those dots through. Just dropping in a bit of green, more of that aqua green. And a bit more of that apple green now over the original crevices that we created with the Payne's Grey. Just that shadow here I'm not happy with, so I'm going to add some water and try and disperse some of that blue up in through his leg. And pick up that colour. Just a little bit of that apple through there. So that's now a little bit stronger. And again, the apple through there to just make that leg pop out. I'll do the same above it, like so. So we're aiming for the two legs to basically pop out. Just going over that blue with the apple green just to make it not as strong as it was earlier, because it was quite vivid. And then I'm going to disperse some of that blue onto the belly, so in with some clean water. Just in the corner, using my rigger on its side. And that Payne's and blue is just naturally connecting with that water. I might add in a little bit of brown into that corner and let that disperse as well. Like so. Throwing a little bit more blue in that corner. Zooming out slightly. Okay, so I want to add in a little bit of yellow, and I'm going to do that by flicking my brush over the painting. And then just adding some water to that to drag out some of the splatter itself. same down the bottom. Just let that merge a bit more. And add a little bit of that green. Just to loosen it up a little bit. Straight in with the yellow for the tail. The rim I want to keep nice and fresh, so the top half. And then come in with the apple. I intensify some of that colour, so I'm coming in nice and strong, but then I'm going to use my brush to draw down that colour. Again, a little bit of that apple. I'm keeping the bottom half of the tail dark. As it curls around. Okay, now I'm adding water, just drops of water to some areas. I'll go a little bit more blue in here. This is sort of my touch-up area now, so where I want to add in a little bit more colour. So just in with the yellow and some green. And then I use my water to just disperse that green out, I don't mind. And add in some points of interest, like so. And then use your water to disperse the colour out and up and across. I'll use that same blue now just to pop some dots in above his leg. Without going dark, but complementing the dark that we have used. Like so. Now I'm going to work around his eye a little bit, which needs a little bit of attention, so I've still got the blue on my brush. And I really want to make his eye pop. So just a little bit Payne's grey now, and working underneath that eye value, above the eye, and then dispersing that Payne's down. So we're just outlining the eye. I really want it to pop. A little bit of yellow just on the top. Let's bring that up. And then I'm just going to bring in a little bit more water in this green and let it disperse and mingle in and around. Just to connect the body up a little bit so it's not too segmented. It's a little bit more of that green. Remember, the paper is still quite wet, and then a little bit of that brown. And I'm just adding it at the top, like so. And I'm wanting it to merge in. And create some really nice patterns. So I'm just flicking up that colour now into the yellow that we did earlier for his spikes. And we'll do the same here, just a little bit of that brown. Intensify some of that. A little bit of flick work up there. I want to go darker, just slightly, underneath his chin area. So just mixing up some blue-green. And just bringing that in. Again, I'm leaving some areas white, so I'm not actually painting over those areas because I do want to leave them so that you can see underneath and you're leaving those highlights. So all I'm doing here is just doing lines. And I just want to feed that colour back up and soften it around the mouth area. A little bit more yellow. Just put those spikes and let that bleed out. I think I just want to splatter a little bit. It's just down the bottom. I'm just using a bit of green. Just work some of that splatter out. If you don't like where it's landed, you can sort of merge it in with the background a little bit. I really want that brown to sort of bleed up, really get loose. It's just adding that extra water. A little bit of blue down here. Just a little bit of water and a touch of that blue. Bring some of that blue up there as well to balance it. Like so. Just under his belly, I just want to intensify the colour again. A little bit of pains. And then just these final touches of pains. Just to make certain areas pop a little bit more. So all I'm doing is outlining. Again, just letting that pains disperse into that tail from the underside. So I want highlights on the top of the tail still. I feel like just underneath the chin needs a little bit of depth. So I'm wetting it a little bit and then taking a little bit of pains and letting that travel down. Like so. Just dropping in that pains and letting it work down the water. Again, just a little bit more pains in there. Now I may come back with a little bit of white, just depends, just a little bit more green in there. It's up to you how many layers you want to pop in. So all I'm doing now is just building up constantly building up that colour, and the colour pops. Some more yellow. I'm dropping that in. It really is your painting at the end, so it's what you choose to pop in. Now, more than likely I will come in with a little bit of white once this is dried. So I'm just going to let that dry, and then I'll just come in with a little bit of white and show you what I'm doing. Okay, just finishing off some details now. Just working around the eye area, bringing in with a drier brush, fully loaded with some of that apple green. When your brush doesn't have enough water, it won't move the colour as nicely. So I'm just adding in that detail now. Areas where I feel that it just needs a little bit more colour and vibrancy. Just moving my way around. Just using the colour in its fullest, strongest, undiluted. Just coming in with that apple, still using that apple green. Now remember, we're still working on loose, few details here and there really do help. Especially around the face of any of the animals, insects, etc. that you do. You really want to engage with the person that's viewing your painting. You don't want to overwork it, so at some point it's a good idea to stop, because then you're bringing in too much detail. So again, just a few areas where I felt that it just needed another pop of colour, because once this paint dries, it does almost look a little bit faded. Just a little bit more. Just tone down this area here. It's a little bit. A little bit in there. Just bringing a little bit of that blue in that top section. Probably a little bit of that blue now in the bottom section here as well. And then you can use a liner if you want to. I'm just going to come in straight with that blue and follow the tail area. And just under the chin. And then just a little bit more along here with the green. And I would say I'm quite happy with that now. You can always tinker around and add more colour, but then that in itself becomes a problem because you overwork something that was supposed to be a little bit simple. Okay, calling this one done. And I'll just add in a little bit more colour into that tail area. There will be an outline on the Facebook group, Let It Run Watercolour Art. If you like what I've done so far, then please support me with the Buy Me a Coffee app. You can buy me a $5 coffee, or you can buy me 2 $5 coffees, and if you like to see more of this type of stuff done, it just helps with the time taken, the paints used, the paper used, and obviously the idea making. I hope you guys have a really good week. I'll be packing and moving, but I always like to do a little bit of painting, and this is just one that I pulled out of nowhere for you guys. Hope you enjoy.